Well, Anthony Giacalone brought up a good point. The Book of Psalms is one that I haven't covered yet in my crash course in the Bible. So let's just talk about King David for a minute. The two books in the Bible that cover the biography, basically, of King David are going to be Samuel 1 and 2, which is named after the priest Samuel. It's important to know that David was the... Sorry, my light's changing right now. So, David is the second king of Jerusalem after Saul. I'm not going to get into that little story right now, but I do want to talk about what books are attributed to David. For example, like I said, Samuel 1 and 2 give you kind of the biography, the story. That's where you can find David and Goliath. That's where you can find a lot of the imperative stories about the covenant between David and God, which is supposedly the covenant that's upheld by Jesus in the last days, being the heir of David. Anyways, but the Psalms are a very, very useful tool in your day-to-day religious life. There's 150 Psalms in most Bibles, but there's a 151st Psalm that you usually can only find in the Apocrypha. The 151st Psalm is very interesting because it is the Psalm that David wrote after he chops off the head of Goliath in Samuel. So if you're into King David, which if you read anything about him, I'm sure you will be, that's going to be the place to check. You know, the interesting thing to think about David and to remember for yourself when you're considering your own sinful life is that David was a pretty bad sinner. You know, he actually stole his best friend's wife, Bathsheba, which was Solomon's mother. He saw her taking a bath on the roof and he coveted her, and he had his friend put on the front lines of the battle so he would be killed so that he could have her wife. So you got to think about it. David has some very fucked up things going on. You know, he slept with Solomon's wives. He did all kinds of terrible shit. But at the same time, he repented and he got himself back in the graces of God, even after he made great mistakes. And I know that I might be a sinner, but it's really true that compared to David, I'm not much of a sinner at all. And to think that David is still the one who is the chosen one, you know what I mean? He's the one that's reaping all these rewards. Then that leaves hope for me, man, because I've got a long ways to go before I get in Solomon or David's shoes, because he had some pretty terrible greedy tendencies. Not that I don't myself, but the fact that he's still the chosen one after everything that he did leaves a little bit of hope for me. Important things about the book of Psalms. Psalm 91 is a good psalm for whenever you feel like you're overwhelmed. Psalm 51 is a good psalm for whenever you feel like you're not being forgiven by God. You can't wallow in the mud. If you read Psalm 51, you will feel forgiven. If you read Psalm 18, you know what I mean? It's another one of those things that's gonna bring you strength. It's gonna bring you confidence. The Psalms are attributed to have been written by David, and they're almost like magic spells. If you read the Psalms that I'm telling you, if you're scared, read Psalm 27. If you're unsure about how you're going to eat today, read Psalm 23. And if you read these Psalms, it will fix your life like a fucking magic spell. I don't know how to explain it. It's just one of those things. Good job, Anthony Giacalone, for bringing that up. I'm going to hit you on 2 Peter and 1 Peter, but probably not tonight.